third thing I want to bring up about forgiveness and unforgiveness is how forgiveness leads to peace in our lives. We hear a lot about world peace and all that sort of stuff, but until we get peace in the hearts of individuals, world peace is an impossibility, because you can't have world peace and discontented people. We go to war because of discontented people. People with the ability to start wars start them because they're discontented with what they consider to be the status quo. So maybe I can't change the world, maybe you can't change the world, but maybe I can just change your heart. And maybe that'll be a big impact. The person that motivated Mahatma Gandhi changed India forever. The person that motivated Winston Churchill changed the world, changed Europe, changed the world forever. And so I'm happy to work on individuals, and who knows what level of success that may bring down the track. I feel like this is my mission. And so I'm wanting to inspire the virtue of forgiveness in you, because I know how that will lead to contentment and peace in your life, peace in your family, peace with you and your children, you and your spouse, you and your workmates, you and your business associates and colleagues, you and your friends. I know that because I've experienced it, and I've experienced the opposite of it as well. Unforgiveness just really doesn't work. And unforgiveness, in the words of Christ, he talked about people that were not willing to forgive would be given over to the tormentors. Now, again, I've said it a few times and I'll continue to say it. These messages are not intended to be religious in any way. They're not intended to promote a particular religious perspective. They're intended to promote and provoke principles that work for anybody that wants to work them. What I believe religiously is not my point today. What I believe that works is what I want to share with you. And what I know is if you're out in the rain and you've got an umbrella and you put it up, it'll protect you from the rain. What I know is that when spring comes, if you plant seeds in the ground, you've got a chance of having a harvest, versus never planting seeds. You'll never have a harvest except weeds and all the things you don't want. And so that's what my mission is at this stage in my world, is to plant seeds in your garden that hopefully will spring up to produce a harvest that will help you and sustain you in some way going forward. That's what I really want to do. So I don't want you to experience the torments that are associated with unforgiveness. And I've literally counseled and dealt with hundreds and hundreds, thousands actually, of people over my lifetime in this particular capacity. And I've seen more people than I can remember who have benefited from forgiving people that have, let's say, sinned against them, that have abused them, that have harmed them, that have done the wrong thing by them. I've experienced that return to peace myself, and I know it works. So I'm not talking some theory, I'm not virtue signaling. As I've said in some quotes sometime recently, virtue doesn't signal. It really doesn't. People that virtue signal, they've got no substance whatsoever. They're just towing a party line. They're just trying to promulgate a party narrative, some BS that they've ascribed to or been conditioned by, and it's meaningless. Except that they make a lot of noise, and a lot of people get fooled by all the noise and think those people are in the majority, but they're absolutely not. Let me tell you, just as a quick aside, the good guys are winning, okay? Even though it looks like the bad guys might be, just because they sometimes make more noise. But listen, get back on the topic. Unforgiveness releases chemicals in our brain. One of those chemicals is cortisol. And cortisol, when we hold on to unforgiveness, which leads to bitterness, resentment, and anger, and even acts of violence, etc., can be just all led through unforgiveness. When we have cortisol running around in our brain too much, then it leads to high blood pressure, it stimulates heart disease, it stimulates stress, and all of the diseases that are associated with stress. And there's many, and I'm no medical person, but I've listened to enough experts and medical people to know that this is just the fact of the matter. And we need to learn how to turn that cortisol tap down or off when it's operating unnecessarily, because forgiveness is something, that we have a choice over. We need to turn it off. I don't want to lower my bone density, especially as I'm, an aging man. Bone density is becoming more and more important, and cortisol, overactive cortisol stimulation in our brain, triggers the release of chemicals throughout our system and nervous reactions that affects our bone density. Isn't that amazing? The whole core structure of the human being is the skeletal structure. Everything that you're looking at right now, this meat bag, called my body, it's hanging on this structure that you can't see called my skeletal structure, and that skeletal structure is as strong as as it can be, and I can help make it strong by learning to forgive and shutting down unforgiveness, so that unforgiveness doesn't release cortisol in my system to an extent that's unhelpful and lower my bone density and raise my blood pressure and exacerbate heart disease and all kinds of other stress. People literally go insane from stress. Let that sink in. People go insane from stress. So many diseases that we have, mental disorders, are exacerbated by stress. And I'm not saying stress is the primary cause, the only cause. I'm just saying it's part of the mix, and it's a part that you've got some control over. And to the degree that we have some control over it, we need to exercise that control, because that's our responsibility. It's not your responsibility to exercise control over my self-control. That's my job, and it's not my job to exercise control over you. However, I do feel it's part of my responsibility to provoke you and to inform you and to, if possible, inspire you to step up and be more of who you can be really. Take control, do what you can do, stop worrying about what you can't do, and do what you can do. So many people are worrying about what they can't do and forgetting what they can do. So practice forgiveness. Get some alone time, get some me time, get some quiet time, get alone with you. If you're a believer, get alone with you and God and enter into the prayer space. If you're not a believer, you're an atheist, still get alone with yourself. Nobody's more important in your world than you. Get alone with yourself and release that unforgiveness. Just consciously, mentally, in your imagination, go through the motions of releasing that person and showering them with love instead of unforgiveness. Let love start to be your primary source of motivation, not anger, hatred, and unforgiveness. It'll change your world. I absolutely know it for a personal fact.